Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Building an Early Childhood Pathway, Resources You Can Use. Today we are going to share some pretty great tools and resources that you can use to either jumpstart a brand new early childhood pathway or build up an existing course. Presenting today's webinar today is Denise Bodart, our Real Care Product Manager. Denise has actually been with Realityworks for 10 years and is a frequent presenter and trainer and blogger for all things related to Real Care Baby and our other related products. Denise actually has over 20 years of education, marketing, professional development, product design, and curriculum writing experience. So she's a pretty stellar resource for today's presentation. Now, before we get started today, I'd like to review just a few quick items. First, today's presentation is being recorded, and all attendees will receive a link to the recording as well as a certificate of completion for attending today's presentation. Second, we will have time at the end of the presentation today for a dedicated Q&A session. So if a question comes up as you're listening to Denise, make a note of it and we'll be sure to answer as many questions as we have time for at the end. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Denise. For those of you just joining us, Denise has been with Realityworks for 10 years as our Real Care Product Manager and has over 20 years of education, marketing, product design, and curriculum writing experience. Thanks, Denise.
Well, thank you, Emily, and good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar all about building an early childhood pathway. Here's just a brief agenda of the things we'll be covering in the next half hour. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about Realityworks in case you're not familiar. We will talk about just what it takes to build an effective early childhood pathway. We will discuss some curriculum assets and ideas for you. We will be providing some information on hands-on resources for early childhood and then some additional resources and ending, of course, with a Q&A session. So first, let's talk a little bit about what is Realityworks. Well, we've been in education for over 20 years, and our first main product was our Real Care Baby Infant Simulator, but our common thread is experiential learning technology. Now, we are in about 67% of school districts nationwide, and we are an international company in over 90 countries worldwide. So we are very active in career and technical education, and we partner with the ACT on many things, and we also, our president, Tim Betcher, is the chair of the Industry Workforce Needs Coalition, so we do have a lot of connections in the CTE realm as well. And of course, our educational focus is on that combination of hardware, software, learning aids, and curriculum to be a total solution in the CTE world. So again, some of the kinds of learning tools that we now have available in addition to our Real Care Baby are a whole line of welding simulation things, egg programs and experiential learning products, and also health science. But today we'll be discussing some of our products, including curricula, that can be used to help build out an early childhood pathway program of study. So when you begin to build your early childhood pathway program, there are many places you can start and resources to go to. Now let's take a look at the career clusters that pertain to early childhood programs. Now you can see early childhood falls squarely into two career clusters. First, there's education and training in the teaching training pathway, and then there are the human services career cluster in the early childhood development and services pathway. Now, as you begin to look at what you need in this area, one really helpful website to go to is careertech.org/career/clusters. And again, at careertech.org is really what you need to remember here. And at that website or location, there's something called the Plan of Study Worksheet. It's an editable worksheet. And up on the screen here, you see a sample of it, and it can be specific to career pathways and clusters. So this is one for education and training. But as a planning tool, it helps educators lay out the courses that you're going to need to build your early childhood plan of study. Now, we will share resources that can help you build out that plan, but first, let's consider what makes an effective early childhood program. One helpful resource to go to is the brief series on the early childhood workforce, Pathways to Progress. The Institute of Medicine and the National Research Council's 2015 report, and this is the title to that report, it was Transforming the Workforce for Children Birth to 8, offers recommendations for building a high-quality early childhood workforce with the knowledge, competencies, education, and support to promote children's development and learning. Now, this series of briefs summarizes findings in the report to inform early childhood programs, states of education, higher education, and other interested stakeholders, and just how to strengthen the support that they offer in the early childhood workforce. Now, I've included the URL on the slide here, so you could go to that to dig deeper. But they include recommended knowledge and competencies for early childhood educators and programs. Now, they've got this broken into two types. They have foundational and specialized knowledge and competencies. So for that foundational knowledge and competencies, they have it broken into three broad areas of knowledge that all adults working with young children need. So the first of these three is a strong knowledge of child development in all domains. Second is the importance of consistent nurturing relationships to support learning. And the third one is the biological and environmental factors that influence children's development. So this knowledge is the basis of the 4 core competencies. Now, also in this report, these competencies include engaging effectively in quality interactions that are developmentally appropriate, to promoting positive social development and address behavioral challenges, to recognizing the need for specialized services for some children, and making informed decisions about the use of technology in children's learning. So this is just full of good, meaty information, and I highly recommend that you go out to that URL to look more closely at the foundational knowledge and competencies. Now, the next slide I'm going to show you is the specialized knowledge and competencies that this URL recommends. So these areas of specialized knowledge that effective early childhood professionals have include the following: science of child development in specific content areas and how they interact. And now these teachers also need to know about learning trajectories or content-specific learning paths, including those related to things like developing goals, tracking their progression, and providing appropriate instructional strategies. Now, knowing the science of development means understanding the biological and environmental influences on children's learning, including the importance of positive relationships and the negative consequences of adversity and stress. And finally, teachers of young children should know how to use data from ongoing assessment of children and the importance of using these assessment measures that are developmentally, linguistically, and culturally appropriate. So think about all of this information and how can you integrate these foundational and specialized knowledge and competencies into your early childhood program. Great food for thought. Now, the Early Learning Career Pathway Initiative, and that's located at the URL I have on the screen in front of you, has published something called Credentialing in the Early Care and Educational Field. It's a technical assistance report, but in it, they had this visual, which I thought was just excellent, on 6 key elements of career pathways. And this could be any career pathway, but today we're going to look at this in light of developing that early childhood pathway. So as we go through the rest of the webinar, let's think about these 6 key elements and consider how you could use them to guide development of any early childhood pathway. So you see things like building cross-agency partnerships, identifying industry sectors, and engaging local employers. Think about how you'll design education and training programs, identify your funding sources and needs, aligning these programs, and so forth. So let's keep these 6 things in the back of our heads as we go through the rest of the webinar today. Now, several of those 6 key elements of career pathways involve working with industry, involving local business and industry leaders and professionals in your pathway development. This is critical. How can you understand what local employers are looking for in an early childhood professional if you don't ask? Consider putting together an early childhood advisory council. Now, you could choose these professionals from a variety of settings and levels of responsibility to get a variety of viewpoints and input. Plan to meet on a regular basis, perhaps quarterly. Have frank discussion and dialogue asking, what are you looking for in your employees? Does your course content align with what they are looking for? Use this advisory council to form partnerships. Ask questions like, are they willing to allow students at their location for field or job experience or even job shadowing? Also, are they interested in coming in to be a guest speaker for your classes? Now, even if the professionals you approach choose not to participate, just the mere fact that you're asking them will go a long way as they start to interview students that may have gone through your program. So building an advisory council and coalition is just a great way to get your local folks involved. Now, many districts require that any career pathways created lead to some sort of industry-recognized certifications or credentials. The Child Development Associate, also known as the CDA credential, is the most widely recognized credential in early childhood education, and it's a key stepping stone on the path to career advancement in early childhood. The CDA credential is based on a core set of competency standards which guide early care professionals as they work toward becoming qualified teachers of young children. So the 6 goals of the CDA are as follows. First of all, you want to establish and maintain a safe and healthy learning environment. You want to help advance physical and intellectual competence in your young people. Support social and emotional development and provide positive guidance. Establish positive and productive relationships with families. Making sure that your program is well run, purposeful, and meets the children's needs, and of course have a solid commitment to the profession. And a lot of these credentials, or these things that we just read, these 6 goals, we've also already heard in some of the prior slides and some of the other early childhood initiatives. So everything seems to be aligning with the same types of goals and the same types of skills that you want your early childhood professionals to have. So there are 4 national organizations that have written national standards for professionals working in early childhood. Now you can review the recommendations found in these sets of standards to find the commonalities and what you wish to focus on in your plan of study. So get ready for acronym overload, because there's a lot of acronyms in education. So for example, you've got the National Association for Education of Young Children, also known as the NAEYC. Got the National Board for Teaching Standards, the NBPTS. You've got the Interstate Teachers Association and Support Consortium of the Council of Chief State Officers, School Officers. And lastly, Division of Early Childhood of the Council of Exceptional Children. So again, these are national standards, but don't forget to review any applicable state standards you may have as well. Now, curriculum. This forms the content backbone to any effective program of study. What you teach is just as important as how you teach. Think back to those 6 key elements. That's where we can help you. We can help you design your education and training program for early childhood. We have dozens of lessons from a variety of curricula provided with our experiential learning resources. We've reviewed them and put together a recommended package of content for creating an early childhood program of study. Now, here is some of the content we have available with the products available for early childhood. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of the most relevant topics for teaching transferable early childhood career skills and foundational knowledge. You can see they kind of fall into 2 buckets: the basic infant caregiving skills and then infant health and safety, both of which are very important for early childhood professionals. Once you see the breadth of the content that's available, you can begin to plan how to plug it into the courses that you have in your plan of study. Now remember the earlier slide which had the list of courses? If you already have some of our infant simulators or experiential resources, you can begin to review the curriculum topics included and see where they best fit in your pathway. What classes would you use them in? Don't reinvent the wheel. The lessons are created by educators for educators. They include step-by-step instructions. They have assessments, slide presentations, and dozens of ready-to-use activities. So there's just a ton of good resources that are already available to you, and some you may already have. Now, here are some additional modules we have available beyond what we've already shared relating to human growth and development specifically. Now, this is an important course in most early childhood plans of study. So if you have a class specifically called Human Growth and Development, these are just some of the lessons we have available with some of our products, ready to use immediately in your courses. And this is a total of 29 to 30 hours worth of content that exists for you already. So we wanted to also let you know that we do have a standalone employability skills program that teaches 20 specific soft skills. Now, these skills are each taught in a specific lesson that focuses on that soft skill. and each lesson could be taught as a standalone lesson, or you could teach the entire program if you chose to. The lessons focus on a specific soft skill and include anywhere from 2 to 4 activities where you learn about, apply, and practice that soft skill. So there are anywhere between 19 to 30 hours of content in the employability skills program. So we just wanted to let you know that that module does exist as well, and that can be used as a supplement to any CTE pathway that you have. And early childhood certainly is applicable as well. So now we'll share some of those hands-on resources that we have available specific to teaching early childhood skills. First of all, there are recommended simulators that we have to provide students with practical application of the content they've learned. So here's a list, and here's where they get the hands-on learning of transferable career skills and foundational knowledge that they will use in early childhood careers. For instance, Real Care Baby. Students can use this to learn to care for an infant with hands-on practice using this infant simulator. Our Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Baby will help your students see over 20 physical potential effects of prenatal alcohol exposure and how to start identifying that, so they know how to best handle that if a child comes to them in a program. We have a drug-affected baby where your students can hear the cry of a crack-addicted baby. They'll feel the withdrawal tremors and see the physical impact on prenatal drug exposure to infants. And that is something when they see it, they hear it, they feel it, they will not forget it. Our Shaken Baby will help your students see what impact shaking an infant can have on the brain and learn about prevention strategies. We also have a Preemie Baby, and it's a great tool to see what a 30-week preemie looks like in size and learn how to care for these very special wee ones. It's really impactful when you see the preemie baby compared to the healthy Real Care Baby and what a difference that 10 weeks can make in the growth. We also do have a CPR Baby, and this is where your students can get that hands-on practice in specifically infant CPR skills and procedures. We also have a Choking Baby, and again, your students use the Choking Baby to get hands-on practice dislodging an obstruction in an infant's airway. So you can see, if you have this suite of products, how you can turn your early childhood program into a very interactive one where they are truly learning transferable career skills. Now, we also have a wide variety of models and experiential learning products that relate to human growth and development. Now, in an earlier slide, we did show you some of the lesson topics in those products, but now here's a list of the models and how they specifically can be used for human growth and development. And these can start with ovary and sperm development, fertilization, and conception. We have models specific to each of those steps. We also have models for each month of fetal development. They're life size, and you can take them out, you can pass them around, you can look at the real size of each of the months of development and learn what is happening both in utero and otherwise. And then also we have a ready to deliver infant at the end of the 3rd trimester in our pregnancy torso. So it's dropped into the birth canal, and you can see all of what's happening physically for a pregnant woman who's ready to deliver. We have birth models that show the 3 stages of birth. So sometimes we know students can't handle seeing the real birth videos, and that might be a little much depending on the age. But some of these birth models can help you get those same concepts across in maybe an easier to understand way. So we have 2 different model sets that take students through each of the 3 stages of birth, showing the infant going through the canal and ending with the birth and placental delivery. Very, very effective visuals. Now, your students can even experience the 3rd trimester of pregnancy and what it feels like to feel fetal movement, elevated body temperature, change in body image, and many more physical symptoms of pregnancy with our pregnancy profile simulator. Now, it can go on male or female students, doesn't matter. It's a one-size-fits-all, it's adjustable. But boy, once you put that on and you've got that weight gain of 20 to 30 pounds and you feel the fetal movement, what an eye-opening experience to walk in the shoes of an expectant mother. Just very, very effective. Now, once you can see the variety of these hands-on resources that we have available, you can begin to plan how to plug these resources into your plan of study. Now, if you already have some of our infant simulators or models or experiential resources, you can begin to see where they best fit into your pathway. This will make your content memorable and make that learning sticky for your students. Again, once they hear, for example, the cry of a crack-addicted baby that can't be soothed, or the withdrawal tremors of that drug-affected baby, those are things that they just will never forget. Now, we also have 4 career exploration lessons that are free for you to try at the link that we have on the screen in front of you. And these relate to some of the different experiential learning products that we have. These are just value added. Even if you don't have the simulators, you could go ahead, print these out, and you could certainly adapt. Some of them teaching 4 different career-related areas. One, we have childbirth and pregnancy. One, we have substance abuse prevention jobs. We have one specific to working with infants in education and human services, and a 4th specific to careers related to shaken baby syndrome prevention, education, and treatment. So again, these are free. Go ahead, go to that link, download them, try a few of the activities, and just more supplemental information to help build your program. So there's a lot of information to digest here. And you might be thinking, what should I do first? Well, let us help you. We've created an easy way to develop an early childhood pathway, providing content and hands-on resources that are ready to be used immediately. Now, this suggested pathway program is a series of resources and 20 to 25 hours of content that fits either within the human services and education and training career clusters for early childhood. So there are really 2 choices. We have a small package for roughly a smaller group of students, maybe 10, and we also have a large package which is made more for 20 or more students in a class. So here's the content that we've included in the pathway package. The content teaches foundational knowledge and subject matter that your students will use in an early childhood occupation. So you can see they're talking about things like important role of a caregiver, what makes an effective daycare provider or someone who works with an infant, learning about brain development, certainly learning all of those basic infant caregiving skills from soothing and swaddling to feeding to burping to bathing. But then you've got a whole robust infant first aid and health and safety component to it as well. So all of those things would be included in the curriculum that you see in front of you in these packages. And here's the content that's included in the pathway package that teaches about infant health specifically. You've got things like, prenatal drug exposure and alcohol exposure. We even include a methamphetamine exposure lesson that we just added that probably in the last year because we were getting asked by teachers to add that kind of content. Again, you've got shaken baby, you've got choking, you've got CPR, but all specific to infant care. So again, here's a kind of a review of the hands-on resources that give your students that practical application of the content that they're learning in your courses. So when students walk away with participating in your pathway, they'll have transferable career skills. It will increase their confidence and future success on the job. So you can see we've got the 2 packages, and we've got the warranties, we've got the supplies, you've got storage. So we've got a lot of things all wrapped up into that package. Now here are more hands-on resources that are recommended for early childhood pathway packages. Again, if you already have some of the pieces in the package, that's fine. We can also help you craft a custom quote that would build out the rest of it. So if you'd like more information about our pathway packages, you can certainly call us at our 800 number that we'll be sharing on the last slide. You can go to realityworks.com, but we would love to talk to you about your program needs and how we can help you build out that pathway in a early childhood in an easy and painless fashion. So we've come to the point where we would really like to open it up for any questions you might have about any of the content that we've covered today. And Emily, I'm going to have you be the one to kind of monitor any questions that might come.
Absolutely. There is a questions and answers button on your screen in front of you. So at this time, go ahead and type in any questions or thoughts you might have. We'll give everyone a minute to do that. One question we have heard already as we talk to people about our pathway package and these different all the these different resources that Denise has shared with you today is, what, Denise, would you say folks can expect if they are interested in starting a new pathway, aren't sure where to start, if they call us and ask for some assistance?
Yeah, we do get that question now, and there's no question it can be overwhelming to get started, especially from scratch. What we would do is we would have one of our account managers give you a call and do kind of a needs analysis. What specifically are you hoping to accomplish? What will the focus be of your pathway program? And what resources do you already have? Or what ones do you need? And we can help you craft a custom pathway package that really meets the needs of the amount of students you have, the amount of class content and hours and things like that. So the pathway packages that we have that are both small and large are a great starting point, especially if you have nothing. But if you already have some things, we certainly can help build out the rest of what would be a complete early childhood pathway that meets your own needs.
Okay, great to know. Great information also. Thank you, Denise. Gosh, I don't see any other questions at this time. Denise, I do know that one question you get often also is almost more of a general one, a plan of study.
Sometimes we get questions from teachers who maybe aren't as familiar with the structure of career and tech ed. So we get questions, what's a career cluster? What's a plan of study? What's a pathway? So basically, we tell people, think of the career clusters as the larger umbrella. There's basically 16 large career clusters where pretty much any employment or jobs fall under that. And then within each career cluster, you've got segments called pathways that are further subdivide related areas of occupation. And that's where the early childhood pathway comes in. We've got 2 career clusters that we mentioned earlier that it fits within. And when we talk about a plan of study, that's a list of courses that make up the pathway of what courses your students are going to take and complete that help them along the pathway to that type of job. So again, if you Google career clusters or you go to the ACT website, there's a lot of good information out there about clusters and pathways and how to build this type of program that can help you if you're not familiar with that kind of terminology.
Awesome. Thank you, Denise. It does look like we have a question. Tammy is wondering, what is our audience for this pathway curriculum?
A lot of, and I would say primarily high school and community college. First year or two, it would be anybody that's going for like a CDA credential in early childhood. So we do know that there are high schools that offer that, but we also know that there are some community colleges that are offering that type of program. So that's really our target audience, is helping to build out the pathway that will lead to that type of credential.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Denise. It looks like we've got another question here. Oh, Deborah, why thank you. Deborah just wanted to share that our customer service professionals are the best. When having issues with the babies, they walk you through it step by step. Deborah, we will pass that along to our product support team. We love them. So thank you. All right, it does not look like we have any other questions. Of course, Denise will share the contact information for our team on your screen now also. So any other lingering questions or thoughts that you may have, please don't hesitate to contact us. Otherwise, we sincerely hope you found today's presentation useful, and we will share via email in just a few hours a link to the recording, as well as that certificate of completion for taking the time to join us today. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll get that out to you within a few hours. Thanks so much, everyone. And thanks, Deborah, for that comment.